Hey, what's up, YouTube shooting people? I want to talk to you about a aspect of reloading that's really important for competition. I think important in general, particularly in competition where you've messed with your springs in your gun, like a revolver. If it's lightly sprung, particularly the firing pin, okay, so it's not going to hit harder. What that does is make an easier trigger pull. It reduces recoil, but if that firing pin's not going to hit as hard because you reduce the spring in it, or the springs that operate it, like a mainspring on a revolver, a firing pin spring on a 1911, or a mainspring on a 1911, for instance, or even springs in your Glock, like the striker spring. It's really important to make sure that you have the primer fully seated, and a lot of people will actually reseat the primer and crush prime it. What happens if the primer's not strong enough? Let's pretend this is the primer, okay, this thing here. So it sits in the case, right? If it's not seated completely down in the case, when the weak striker or firing pin hits it, it'll actually move it forward. That'll take away some of the energy of the strike, and it won't go off. Okay, you'll get a dud. Often, if you do a second strike on those, they'll go off. All right. So what you want to make sure is that that primer is seated all the way into the pocket. Actually, some people actually do a crush priming as well, which I'm going to show you what that is. To do that, you need, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's one of those things you have to decide whether or not it's something that you want to get involved with or spend your time doing, and how much of an advantage it is for you in terms of your shooting. For self-defense, you don't want to have to be messing with this stuff. For self-defense, in my opinion, you should go buy self-defense ammunition. Don't reload ammunition for self-defense. You need a priming tool. This is actually one from K&M. I got one from Hornady. They changed the design, I think, and I thought it sucked. So I won't even talk about it. I got to send it back, and it's pissing me off, something wicked. So this is K&M Precision. This is what it looks like. Usually comes without this wood block that I made. Why did I make a wood block? Because this handle, for a great tool, this handle is a complete piece of shit. Why they put this handle on there is beyond me. This thing's about 50-something bucks, but when without a block or a spacer in there, you can't really actuate the handle well enough. The handle doesn't stick out far enough, so you got to like use your thumbs, and it kills you after a while, if you understand what I'm saying. Ergonomically, it's a piece of shit, the handle. Sorry, K&M, but really. And I'm not about to spend like 150 bucks on one from Sinclair, and I'm not sure that they are that much better. Although this does work well, if you can make something like this, or you don't mind, having your hands ripped apart by using the completely ridiculous handle that they put on there, you can make a block spacer, or trying to make one out of a hard rubber, where you can get the kind of leverage you need when you squeeze this baby closed. Comes with a few different pins. This is a small pin to seat small primers. I happen to have one large pin, seat large primers. The way it works is you unscrew this part here. What's the proper name for this? The shell holder retainer. We can unscrew this baby like this. Yeah, don't get me wrong, K&M. I like your product, but your handle's a piece of crap. I'm sorry, guys. So this piece, you put in your pin. So this is going to seat your primer. Just goes in there. Put in the spring. Presto changeo. Whoops. Don't do that. Do this. Okay. Then you can take your shell holder. You can just buy these. I happen to buy them from, I guess, who makes them? There's a whole list of them here. Those are Lee Auto Prime. So the Lee ones fit this thing. So you put it in there like that, and just screw it down. And you can, depending on how far you screw it, it'll affect the depth of your primer seating. I want to seat my primers fully. Okay. So I'm going to basically bring it down all the way and then do it by feel. All right. We're dealing with live ammunition, so wear something on your eyes. Make sure you're pointing this thing in the right direction. All right, let's see how this works. We'll get some close-ups. I'll show you how this works. One thing I need to mention right away is that this turns. The tighter you screw this in, the deeper you seat the primer. You don't, and what you want to do is set it up by trial and error, where it bottoms out. So the handle bottoms out, and that it's for consistency. Now primer pockets differ on different cases. But it'll get you close enough. Unless you sort your cases, then it'll be identical for every one, and you ream them out, blah blah blah. For the kind of high volume shooting that I'm trying to do, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to set it to somewhere I feel happy with it, and it works. You don't want to crank this down too much, because then when you squeeze it, you'll actually bend the rim of the case. Okay. Now I know if I go to fully tight and I back it off about 3/4 of a turn, that generally gets me where I want to be. So let's get a cartridge here so here's a high primer. Why am I getting high primers? I don't know. On this lot of Winchester primers, I'm getting high primers. I don't know why. It's just, I don't know. Maybe with the primer shortage, they in a rush to get them out. They're kind of not doing so great. Anyway, so there you go. Now the primer should be below flush with the rim of the case, right? So, but you can see that one's pretty close. Ideally, when you're doing a quick check when you're reloading, you do the fingernail test. This barely passes the fingernail test. So how does this work? All I do is I take this cartridge, I put it in my hand priming tool, point it away from me, and just squeeze it. Just squeeze it all the way till it bottoms out. Okay, whoops, bottomed out. Take it out, and now presto changeo. You can see that primer is now deeper. I hope you can see that. Let's do another one, and then just put it in another. Here's one. Has this been a problem? It's not been a problem in my Colt, but it was a problem yesterday with my Smith & Wesson 1911, which has a different kind of firing pin in it than the Colt does. The Colt has a heavier firing pin and bigger. The Smith & Wesson's thinner, more like a 38 special firing pin in there. That's just how they design it. But let's try to get this in an angle where you can kind of see. There we go. See that primer? It's almost flush, right? Not good. Not good at all, boys and girls. Put it in the priming tool, and let's make that problem go away. Here we are. Oops, get that on camera. And all I'm going to do is squeeze it till it bottoms out. It bottomed out, and there you go. Couldn't be easier. It is time consuming. See that? That's fully seated. It is time consuming. It's a pain in the neck, but it's not if you're just going to the range, you don't have to do this. If you want to be sure that you're going to go boom every time, for instance, at a match that you've paid a lot of money to enter, and you'd actually like to be competitive, you want to definitely think about reseating your primers. If you've messed with the springs in your gun, this is going to be incredibly important. And a lot of people feel that reseating the primers is like, precision seating of primers is really a big deal in the world of, like, for instance, precision rifle shooting. Big deal. You can go too much. Sometimes that happens. So let's see if we can go too much on this guy. Where you can get a little mark on the, like this one. I don't know. Can you see that mark on the primer? You want to try to avoid that, but although that won't matter. This is going to fire off just fine. Often you'll get some crap in there. and it doesn't really matter. So again, you know, that goes away. Sometimes it's going to pop up with mixed brass. So for instance, that one is from some company that I've never heard of. So you know, for your Winchester brass, your Federal brass, even your so here's another one of that weird company. Yep, same thing. So you know, it's a little bit brass dependent. So you can, you know, just be aware of that. That's all I got for you. A little reloading tip.